Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode, a retooled episode of H&R Movie Talk, the podcast with me, Rasmus, and
HarriHaffi
HarriHaffi.
or Huffy,
Huffy.
I guess.
You prefer Huffy over Harry, don't you?
I usually use Harry as my Swedish identity and Huffy as my English one.
Okay.
Or I think I did that in one video.
Okay. Well, I shall refer you as Huffy in this video.
Either one will do.
Yeah. Well, this is our first English episode. We have done three episodes in Swedish. 4? No, only 3, right? Three episodes in Swedish. Yeah. And we're trying it out in English because your audience is mainly English speaking, I would say, on your channel.
Well, most people know English.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and you produce your videos in English, so yeah. English it is. Okay. Yes, and today's topic is movies that defines the 70s, the 60s, and the 50s. It's a continuation of our last episode where we discussed the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, right?
2010s.
2010s. Okay, yeah. So we had.
So if you want to check out that video, it's available on your channel, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you only need to learn Swedish before you watch it, though.
Exactly.
But it's worth the price.
That's our only demand for you as an audience. Please learn Swedish.
Yeah.
Small demands. Okay, do you want to start with your movie?
Yeah, I could start, sure.
And what decade are you starting with?
I figured we'll start with the 70s and move backwards.
The 70s?
Because I think, I think the 70s we know the best, and the 60s, well, at least I know less and less the further away back we go, or when we actually go that far back. I think most of my knowledge comes from the 90s, so the 90s would be like the Mecca, so to speak, of my knowledge, or the middle.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyhow, the movie I've chosen for the 70s is Carrie from 76.
Oh, that's an interesting.
I have not seen.
What? You haven't seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess.
But I've read about it, and well, the thing that I think defines the 70s. Or defines it for me is a lot of horror and kind of atheism or hate of God, or stepping away from God seems to be a theme in well, I know it's a theme in Carrie because I read about it. And I also know it's kind of in the Poseidon Adventures.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that movie. Well, there's a preacher in it, and he's leading trying to save a couple of people, and at the end, he's like screaming to God, well, if you're not going to save them, I'm going to save them, so...
Okay.
Other things that I kind of think is specific for the 70s is that it's raw. Like, even more raw than... maybe the most raw decade of them all. The action isn't stylized. The violence isn't stylized. It's violence. It's not choreography. It's violence. It's not meant to be. It'll look beautiful. It's meant to look brutal, kind of raw and a bit dull, a bit boring way as well. So that's why I chose Carrie. The exception here would be Mel Brooks.
Okay.
The thing is, when I think Mel Brooks, I think, oh, he did a bunch of good movies in the 80s. Yeah, he directed 2 movies in the 80s.
Okay.
Spaceballs and what's the other one? The History of the World Part 1.
Okay. So most of his movies are in the 70s.
Yeah, he made 1 movie in 70, 2 in 77, and then I think 1 in 76 and 1 in 77.
Damn. Okay.
So 5 of his movies, and he's only directed 11 movies altogether.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's 5 in the 70s, 2 in the 80s,
2 in the 90s, right?
3 in the 90s.
3 in the 90s. Okay.
Life Stinks, Dracula Dead, I'm Loving It, and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, I didn't know about Life Stinks. I don't know what that is. I've seen the other ones.
And his first movie, The Producers, was made in, I think, 67.
Yeah, that's right.
He has 1 movie in the 60s.
In the 60s, yeah. Interesting. Cool.
So it's well, I don't know, but Mel Brooks, his type of humor is kind of always there in the movies. Like even when you look at when you look at The Producers, like it's the same kind of jokes as in the later movies.
Yeah.
There might be 2 exceptions, and those might be Silent Movie and what's it called? The one from 77.
High Anxiety?
No. This is before. It takes place in Russia, where the Tsar comes back.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's called 12 Shares, but I think 12 Shares is, or is it 12 Angry Men? That's sorry, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's fine. I get it.
Yeah. But those 2 are kind of different in a way that I didn't find them that funny.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I recently saw. I saw. Sorry.
You saw
High Anxiety. I did not like that one.
Yeah, that's the one that parodies Hitchcock.
Yes. Yeah.
But had you seen a lot of Hitchcock?
I have a little. I think I've seen a lot. I've seen like The Birds, Psycho, North by Northwest. The one. What's the one? No, are those the only one I've seen? I think I've seen some more, but I can't. What's it called? Rear Window, Strangers on a Train, and the Shadow of a Doubt. That's one of my favorites. So I've seen some, but not all of them. I've seen the hits. It feels like.
Yeah. You haven't seen The Lady Vanishes?
No, I have not seen that one. No. So I have some. I have some left to see. Definitely. I do.
Yeah. But there's one. Is it Frenzy that? I think that's the one that High Anxiety parodies the most.
Okay. I have not seen Frenzy.
Look at the poster pictures to them. There.
Okay.
It's obvious that it's the same thing.
Or that Vertigo.
Vertigo. Yeah, that might be.
I
wonder if Frenzy has that spiral thing in the poster as well, though.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Rope.
That's probably Vertigo.
Yeah, I think there's some Vertigo scenes because I have seen that one, and I think I remember some Vertigo stuff in the movie, but it's probably lots of stuff.
So, what would you say about the 70s? Do you agree, or do you have a different view on the decade than me?
It's fun because I agree with you completely. Because I'm gonna dig up my list here. I actually wrote down a few names for the titles for the 70s. Oh, I wrote down 3 movies, and I'm gonna try to pick one of them as the ultimate movie. But as you, I agree that the 70s, it's very gritty, it's like nitty gritty. It's raw. It's brutal. It doesn't really have that many happy endings. Some characters can be really, really not evil, but bad, like anti-heroes, like realistic, maybe also pessimistic. Like first, I thought of the movie The French Connection, but I didn't write that one down. But for me, that one is it's a very 70s cop movie, bad guys, and it doesn't end on a happy note.
Yeah, I think I've seen the second movie.
Oh, really? Oh, I have not seen that one.
But that's a very sudden ending.
Okay. I remember the first one, it ended on a really weird note. But as I didn't get it at the time, I think I was a bit too young when I saw it, but now I got it. It showcases some sort of pessimism or I don't know, negative realism or something. But the three movies I picked as the ultimate 70s movies. You talked about Carrie.
Yeah.
You talked about Carrie. So I wrote down The Exorcist. I think as you have their religious themes that may or may not be positive, depends on maybe how you look at the movie. I don't know. And it's very, very raw. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it. Okay.
Yeah, not big on horror.
Okay.
I think I might start getting into it now because you kind of feel a lot when you watch horror movies. You really get into the movie. The suspense will draw you in. While when I watch some action or some comedy, it's like, yeah, they're saying funny stuff and stuff is happening, whatever.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. Yeah. Horror movies can be very powerful.
Yeah.
So I wrote down The Exorcist because, as you said, there's the religious theme. It's very brutal. It's very raw. It's very scary. It was a big deal when it was released, and you have the use of, like, you take a big classical actor like Max von Sydow in this case, and Ellen Burstyn. I think he was big. She was big back then for dramatic roles, and you put them in this kind of this very horror theme, this horror premise that could be like a straight up B movie in some other director's hands, but you put these very serious dramatic actors in this premise, and like boom, you have a big famous scary horror movie that's like a serious movie. And the two other movies I wrote down was Taxi Driver and Jaws.
Yeah.
Because I think The Exorcist, Jaws, and Taxi Driver kind of represent the three different styles of movies that I think of when I think of the 70s.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver.
I was thinking of having Jaws.
Oh, really?
But the thing is, it's been a while since I've seen Jaws, and I just listened to a podcast about the music in Jaws. Might have been a couple of months ago, actually, but anyhow, in it they talked about how the tone of the music changes when they rode out on the boat.
Okay.
The music kind of becomes more cheerful, and it's kind of pirate music.
Okay.
So I think they even mentioned that at one point during the production, John Williams said, "This is a pirate movie." So that's that's a kind of different take on Jaws. It's not that horrorful. Then when I watched it, I didn't find it very frightening.
No, I can get that. Yeah.
My mom, on the other hand, she couldn't take the suspense from it. So.
Yeah, I remember it freaked me out when I was a kid. It really scared me when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of that we get dulled or used to all the gore and horror in movies. So stuff doesn't affect us as much as the previous generation that hasn't seen as horrible movies.
Definitely, yeah. Because I remember, I know with The Exorcist, people fainted in the movie theaters. There had to be like cops and maybe doctors present. And there's a very fun like news piece from a news channel when the movie premiered, and they showed people in the lobby crying, sobbing, fainting. Like, I mean, the hype was big. It's gotta have been so cool as a movie fan to experience that, because we don't really have that anymore. People aren't fainting when they go to see the new Spider-Man movie or whatever they're watching nowadays.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago I watched. Well, it's over 100 years old now. I think it's is it 30,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or if it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, from 1916.
Oh, damn.
So it was a silent movie that I watched, and I read about it. It was, or maybe it said so in the as the movie started. This was the first movie that featured actual underwater footage.
Aha, okay.
Because they hadn't figured out how to do that with a camera previously. So, like, the experience of going to the cinema and seeing the first underwater footage ever, that must have been something real special.
Yeah, very.
But unfortunately, I was born like 100 years too late for it.
Yeah. And we grew up on Space Jam and movies like that.
Yeah. Space Jam, early CGI, and a lot of stuff from the 80s as well.
Yeah. Oh, we have that Jurassic Park era when that was something new, when Jurassic Park came around, the CGI in that movie.
Yeah, it was
groundbreaking.
Young at that time, though.
Yeah, me too. I was like 4.
Yeah. I remember watching that movie for the first time and like hiding behind the couch.
Yeah.
Basically digging my head under the sand and saying, "It's just a movie. It's just a movie. It's just a movie."
Yeah.
That raptor scene really got me, dude.
Yeah. Oh god, it's so scary. The dinosaurs were scary. Yeah, they really were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was the 70s, I guess.
That was the 70s. Yes.
Horror and raw reality.
Yes.
Or raw.
Yeah. If I have to pick out one of these movies, I think I would go with Jaws as the ultimate for me, because it's a mix of the horror and the birth of the blockbuster, and it's also character driven. So there's lots of good characters in the movie, and I think there are some good characters in the 70s, like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. It's very character driven. So I think Jaws is a nice mixture of stuff.
Yeah, I think blockbusters kind of belong in the 80s, though.
Yeah, definitely they do, but yeah, they do. But Jaws had the birth of the blockbuster. I don't know why I think that's important, but
it comes in the middle of the 70s. So
yeah. Precisely.
I don't know how many blockbusters there were and what defines a blockbuster. Maybe that's a question for a different podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's go to the 60s.
You want to start out the 60s?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Once again, I wrote down 3 movies because I couldn't decide. So I'm gonna, I can filter through them later. But the 3 ones I wrote down, because they are. Because I'm not the most familiar with the 60s. I've seen some, but the ones I thought of that feel the most 60s are Bonnie and Clyde, Planet of the Apes, and the Steve McQueen movie, The Great Escape. Have you seen those?
Planet of the Apes, yes. Bonnie and Clyde, yes. The Great Escape, yes. I've seen all of those.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, as I said, I'm not super familiar with the 60s. Yeah. But it feels like the 60s was a bit trippy. And you had this the Planet of the Apes, very trippy. the premise is really out there. I can imagine, like in the 60s, very big, like scary. You have these talking apes, and you have this big sci-fi plot. Because it was written, I think the script was written by Rod Serling, who did the Twilight Zone. So you had that coming from the 50s, like the pulp fiction style sci-fi with monsters and aliens, and you had that carrying over to the 60s. But then it goes a little bit more serious, because I mean, Planet of the Apes it's like a B horror movie, without big monsters, but it goes away from the blob and the thing from the outer space. It goes more into kind of more serious, more brutal, but keeping the fantastical elements of talking apes and stuff. And it ends on a bleak note.
Yeah.
And it kind of also feels like a 70s movie, because it did premiere in 68. So it's right at the end of the 60s. And I'm thinking maybe that's what maybe that got expanded on in the 70s with the bleak endings and stuff. But so I don't know about that one really. But Bonnie and Clyde definitely feels like a 60s movie. You have this the gangsters. I think there's some more gangster movies from the 60s. Yeah, that I can't think of right now. And The Great Escape, it feels like these old, very old-timey big studio movies with big stars, big ensemble casts. It's the kind of movie that I can see them rolling up on the red carpet in the Hollywood premiere, and they're talking to Steve McQueen. Oh, we have the new big Steve McQueen movie. It feels like the typical old-timey studio Hollywood movie when the stars were like everything. So that's kind of my view of the 60s. The fantastical sci-fi element, the gritty gangster movie. That weren't really that gritty as they became in the 60s. But you have like maybe the beginning of the gritty gangster movie, and The Great Escape, big action movie adventure. Yeah, that's my take on the 60s.
Yep. You can't decide between any of these.
Right off the bat, if I have to decide right now for one, I'm gonna go with The Great Escape.
Okay. Yeah. Because I don't want to influence you with my take on the 60s on the movie. That's why I kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I thought of the 60s, and the first thing that I thought of was actually musicals.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think of that.
And I didn't mention this at the beginning of this podcast, that I have a rule when I pick out my movie. It can't be anywhere from the decade, but it has to be in the middle of the decade. So
right in center.
In 64, 5, or 6. Same thing with Carrie. It was from 76.
6, yeah. Mm.
So it's like the 5th year and the 2 years on either side of it.
Mm.
And hence I didn't have as much movies to pick from. And I didn't see a lot of musicals there, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but when somebody mentions the 60s, what I think of is hippies. It's flower power.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's like it's colors, and it's stupid humor that doesn't really entertain anymore. And what movie screams the 60s the most? Well, not because it's a comic book movie, because I think it's the only comic book movie from the 60s.
Okay.
But I still say it's Batman the movie, because there is no way anyone is going to mistake that movie from any other decade.
No. Mind blown. Yes, of course.
Now, well, I can have some views on your picks, but I want to do the 50s first, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure, let's go right ahead. Yeah, you go.
Yeah. Okay, so what defines the 50s for me is that's like the first classic years.
Mm-hmm.
I watched It Happened in Napalm from '61. It's a movie with Clark Gable, which was a good old-time star.
Okay.
But watching the movie, it didn't feel like a classic movie. It felt too modern probably because it was made in the '60s.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't count the '60s as a classic era.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
That belongs to the '50s. And also what do you call it, the costume dramas, like a lot of movies that took place even further back in time.
Yeah.
And hence my choice of movies are the Ten Commandments and the Seven Samurais.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of wanted to have, well, I didn't have a lot of options when I looked at the 54, 55, 56, because there was a lot of movies that, I might have heard of that movie, but not that much. So these were like the two big ones in there.
Yeah.
And also they kind of makes a point to pick both, because the Ten Commandments is in color, while the Samurais are still in black and white.
That's true, yeah.
I think there was still a lot of black and white movies from the 50s.
Yeah. Even into the 60s, I believe. There was some black and white stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was that way because I remember watching Psycho, and it's
exactly
from 1960. But as I listened to yet another podcast on the music from Psycho, they mentioned that it was actually rare that movies were made in black and white.
Okay, they had moved away from it.
Yeah, the reason why Psycho is made in black and white was because they needed to make it cheap.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Hitchcock had a hard time financing that movie, so
yeah. There is a movie about this called Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins. It's really interesting. I didn't know that part, but it's about him making the movie and his struggles. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. So.
No.
I know, right? You don't like Disney, right? Yeah, but that's interesting. I didn't know that. So it was seen as going out of style, basically.
Yeah, basically. I don't know, considering that the movie that I mentioned that was in black and white was a Japanese movie. It could be that Japan was lacking behind, so movies from Japan might have been in black and white a while in the '60s. I don't know about that. I might have to check out.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah. Well, the three movies you mentioned, as you said, The Great Escape feels like a '50s movie for me because,
really,
like you said, it's a great ensemble. It feels like a classic movie.
Oh, okay, I see.
While you mentioned Gangster, well, that's kind of raw. Bonnie and Clyde is a raw movie. I think it was unusual to show a movie ending in such a grim note.
Okay.
But it is specifically what we mentioned happened in the
70s, yeah.
French Connection. And what was the third movie?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Well, that is a sci-fi movie, and it has it's kind of pro-evolution, so hence it goes into my idea of the '70s being anti-God.
Okay. That's interesting. I get it. Yeah, I had a hard time nailing down the '60s.
Yeah.
But I thought of it right now. You picked the Batman movie that you picked. Such a perfect pick. And I know now what I should have picked. That's very much in style with Batman. The Sean Connery Bond movies. That's so '60s.
Yeah, I think isn't Diamonds Are Forever from '71 though?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about Bond as well, and yeah, they have a lot of 60s, but they don't have as they're not as colorful as Batman. And I saw a movie earlier this year called Funny Face, and I thought this looks like a really 60s movie but it's from, I think it's from 59 or 58.
Okay.
But it has like those it has a lot of pink, and it has a lot of those really popping colors coming at you, and the ones that you like a lot more when you're hallucinating drugs, and you're like, whoa, look at the beautiful colors.
Yeah,
I assume, at least.
yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, sorry for shredding your picks for the 70s.
No, it's fine. I had a hard time with the 60s. I had an easier time with the 50s.
Okay, well, what you got?
I got, oh my god, I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4. I wrote down 6 movies. I'm not gonna mention them all. I wrote down 6 movies.
No, go ahead, dude.
Talking about Hitchcock, apparently I wrote down North by Northwest and Vertigo. But I also wrote down the comedy Some Like It Hot with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. I think that's very 50s. But you talked about the 10 Commandments, which I haven't seen. But I wrote down Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston, which aligns perfectly with the 10 Commandments. A big, long historical epic, biblical / historic, whatever you want to call it. It's big epic, which was very, very popular back then. That made me think of, what's that movie? What's that other one? I can't think of it now.
Gone with the Wind?
Oh no, not that one, but that's a good one.
The Road?
No. Someone that's like the 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur, an old one, big epic. But that's not a 60s movie, 50s movie. Can't think of it now. It disappeared. From my head.
Cleopatra?
I don't know what I was going for. So
You said biblical.
Was it what?
Biblical.
Biblical. Yeah, but it disappeared. So I'll cut this out. I don't know what that was. I was thinking of. There is a Max von Sydow movie called The Greatest Story Ever Told, but it wasn't that one. Where he plays Jesus. Whatever. So Ben-Hur, Vertigo. I wrote down so many. 12 Angry Men and Sunset Boulevard. But if I'm gonna pick one from all these 50s movies, I'm gonna go with. I want to go with Ben-Hur, but I think I'm gonna go with Vertigo. No, I'm not gonna go with Vertigo, because Vertigo is more 40s. It's film noir, detectives. I'm gonna go with Ben-Hur as the ultimate 50s movie. Because that particular type of is big biblical epics, that it's so 50s. I was thinking of Spartacus.
Spartacus, yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of. But that's from 1960. But it's basically a 50s movie. It was released in 1960. It was probably made in 59 or 58. Is my guess.
Yeah, that's an epic one. Yeah.
Yeah, very epic.
Not biblical though.
No. Yeah.
But around the same era, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Roman Empire era.
Yeah.
Well, Moses was. Well, I think it's like 1,000 or 2,000 years before that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't keep that. I don't have that. Jag har inte koll på det. Yeah. So, yeah. What was your pick? The 50s pick? Your picks?
The 10 Commandments and Seven Samurai. Both of them very long movies.
Yeah, long.
And I guess Ben-Hur is kind of long as well.
Oh, it's 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, the reason I don't know, was it typical for 50s to have these long movies? we have 3 movies that were this long.
In the 60s.
Did it happen that often?
You have Lawrence of Arabia in the 60s, so it might be more 60s. What's it called? David Lean. He didn't make very long movies. Maybe I'm gonna back and go with Vertigo. I am not sure how to nail down the 50s actually, because in my head when I think of the 50s, I think of James Stewart wearing a hat, basically a detective hat, but that also feels more 40s because the film noir genre is very 40s.
Well, to be honest, I have a kind of problem seeing the difference between all the classical eras. I think like the 50s was half black and white, half colored movies, and then you can see some color drops. I think the 20s might be all silent movies. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But like 30s, 40s, 50s, they kind of mash into each other. But you mentioned that interesting point about the 40s being the noir era.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I guess it's a spoiler for an upcoming episode about the 40s, 30s, and 20s. If we'll ever make that one.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like don't have a really grasp those decades.
No. Maybe. I mean, it's probably the previous decade probably affects the later one. Like there's a lot of Hitchcock in the 50s, which also it seems like it comes from the 40s, with the noir stuff. And then you have the new stuff emerging, like your Ben-Hur's, your 10 Commandments, the big historical epics, the biblical epics, and that continues to the 60s with Spartacus and Lawrence of Arabia. So
I think the thing Hitchcock, I figure he defines not defines, but he challenges the definition of movies of the decade because he has his own style and he kind of sticks with it, doesn't he? I don't know. He's so, because I heard you mentioning Hitchcock and I'm thinking like, is that 70s? Because that's horror, but it's Hitchcock and Hitchcock is early horror.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any movies from the 70s that he made that are.
I think Frenzy is from the 70s.
Okay.
I don't think he made a lot.
Yeah. Basically, he stuck. Well, he did do stuff outside the horror genre, but
yeah, he did. Yeah, this was hard. This 50s, but I'm gonna pick one, and well, no, now we don't want to pick Ben-Hur because it feels maybe more like 60s, and you said that there weren't that many long movies. I'm gonna go with 12 Angry Men. There we go, 12 Angry Men.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I figure I haven't seen the actual movie, but but I kind of know what kind of movie it is, and well, there are not that many famous actors in it.
Who's the one? Henry Fonda.
Oh, is the one that's famous from it, and I guess the others are kind of semi-famous, or maybe were famous back then.
Yeah, there's one guy who's I'm not that familiar with, but he's apparently famous. So yeah, but Henry Fonda is the big name.
Yeah. I've heard that. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I have.
You have.
It's very good.
It was kind of a new idea when it came, because usually when you watch movies, it's about what happens in court, and then the jury go away, and you never get to see the jury before they come back and make their verdict. And in this, it's the actions all happened, and then we focus on them talking about it. And one movie that does this is Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
There's a bank robbery in the movie, but it's off screen.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Same thing in this. There's a court going on, but the court is off screen.
Yeah.
And we're left
yeah.
the discussion and decision making.
Yeah, it's very nice. I think I've seen it twice or 3 times because it's the kind of movie that makes me feel really good. Both in it, like the theme of the movie, the message of the movie, but also how it was made. It's so good. The writing is so good. It just transfixes you. And it's a movie that challenges like prejudice, and yeah, it's all about them talking to each other and challenging each other and growing closer in the court in the jury room. And
yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, I kind of want to see it because it sounds like well, if you don't have that much action in a movie, you have to have a lot of talking, and if you have a lot of talking, it needs to be smart stuff.
Yeah.
Thought out dialogue and stuff like that, and I think that's kind of a lost art because nowadays we have action cams, we have stuff to make stunts, we have people practicing martial arts in like every village.
Yeah, that's true.
And people figuring out how to take action shots themselves and stuff like that. So
yeah, I love a movie with good dialogue. When I hear that a movie has really good dialogue, I get excited. Like in Tarantino's movies, David Mamet, Aaron Sorkin. Like I love The Social Network. That's one of my favorite movies about the creation of Facebook.
Yeah,
it's so good because it's like a play. It's like all scenes, all talking. And I think I heard the director David Fincher. I think I read somewhere that he said there was so much good dialogue in the movie, but there was too much of it. So he, instead of cutting the dialogue, he just had his actors talk faster, so they could cram everything in there. And that's very Aaron Sorkin because it's a dialogue, and it's so good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I thought, they're talking really fast. That's because they're really smart, these people.
Yeah. Let's cram everything in there. Let's not cut anything.
But that's an interesting thing that happens in movies. It's like they have a problem, and the solution becomes like a big thing. It becomes like a feature. You have Marlon Brando in what's it called? I love the smell of maple in the morning.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. People admire the movie because they filmed Marlon Brando in like this black shadowy lighting, so you can just see like. And the reason why the director did this was because the dude had gained weight, and he was disappointed and wanted to hide it.
Yes. Yeah. That's a wonderful movie trivia, like in piece of information.
Another one of these. Well, this is not actual problem, but Gary Oldman in Leon, the Professional. Like the one thing I remember brightly from the movie is him saying, "Bring me everyone." What do you mean everyone? Everyone!
Yeah.
And like you're like, that's great. You remember it, but the reason he did that was as a joke for like the mic guys, because he saw that they were like listening in real closely
on
their headphones, and the dialogue was like super low, so they had to like check so there would be no little errors, so you could pick out the sound perfectly. And that's when he goes and screams his lungs out.
And that's awesome. I had no idea. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
And they kept it for
It's great when stuff like that can really work for a movie and make it better.
That reminds me kind of Star Wars, though.
The banging in your head moment, or?
No. Han Solo in The Empire Strikes Back.
Mhm.
Princess Leia says, "I love you," and his original line was, "I love you too." But the director felt that it it didn't really fit the character. It felt wrong. So they were retaking it, and like people were getting aggravated because it was lunchtime, and so that at one point the director just said, "Harrison, forget the line. Just play your part, or just play the character." And that's when Harrison says, "I know," and he's like, "Great, that's a cut. Let's take lunch." And the rest of the crew were like, "Whoa, no. Let's make this right." And he's, "No, really, this is what I wanted."
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. But I think the point I was trying to make is it's the lack of equipment, the lack of money that brings out the best creativity, really.
Yes, definitely.
Because we don't get creative when we have everything. If we have everything, it's like, yeah, just use what I'll have.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, and when you have to be creative, you get good at like problem solving, and that problems can bring solutions, opportunities. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. So, well, we kind of did we agree on the 50s? Kind of can both consider it a classical era.
Yeah, I went with 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
It's very classic because you have ensemble casts, even if not all of them are super famous, but ensemble cast, lots of dialogue.
Yeah, I think the studio system was still at work in the 50s.
Yeah.
I think that disappeared somewhere in the 60s.
Yeah, probably.
I heard there was a crazy age as well. There were like movie stars drinking and doing stuff, and the newspapers didn't write about it because they weren't allowed to by the studios.
Yeah.
Studios seem to have that much power over stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Hail Caesar by the Coen brothers?
No, I have not. That's a new one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's from like 3-4 years ago. You should really watch that because that's about Josh Brolin plays like a studio head, a studio guy. And I think it takes place in the 50s or the 60s, and it's about the making of a big biblical epic called Hail Caesar, and then they run into some problems. Like George Clooney plays the lead guy in that movie, and he's kind of stupid in real life, so he gets himself into some trouble, and you follow Josh Brolin like detangling everything, and it's very funny. And you see that kind of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, the people drinking, doing drugs, and yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah, I think there's like a scene of Humphrey Bogart. I don't know what movie it's, but it's down at the pier and he's looking into the distance. And in the movie, he's supposed to be really upset, and that's why he's shaking stuff. But in real life, he was like drunk off his ass. And if you know about it, you'll look at the movie differently. I've heard.
Cool. I have to see that.
I haven't seen the actual movie myself, but something I've heard in a podcast as well.
Cool. I love stories like that. So fun. So fun.
Yeah. So I think we kind of nailed down the 70s, 60s, and 50s.
Yes, we mentioned a lot of movies. Yeah, but yeah, good rundown.
Yeah. So let's talk about something else next time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because it will take a while before I get ready for the 40s, 30s, 20s.
Yeah, we can talk about something completely different.
Like I've seen, well, I think I've seen 10 Commandments. I'm not sure. I've seen the 7 Samurais. I've seen Batman the movie, but I have that most definitely not seen Carrie. So it's like I had a movie in here that I haven't even watched, and
yeah. But there's a lot of movies to see. Like I very recently saw Singing in the Rain for the first time. Like very recently. And I love
I saw that one pretty late as well. I think I was home sick a couple of years ago. I watched it. I think it was the same thing with Casablanca, but that was that was like, okay, Casablanca's a famous movie. I need to watch it. I'm a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got myself a Cary Grant collection here, so I'm gonna do some catching up.
Yeah, that's nice. Cool. So, HarriHaffi, tell the audience, where can they find you if they want to find you online?
Well, I do have an Instagram that you could follow, and I have 2 YouTube channels. There's HarriHaffi and HarriHaffi Private. Kind of have different content on each one. I think Private, I'm doing a couple of Bible reads and karaoke mostly on that, but also just mundane, everyday stuff.
Yeah, I like the mix. I like your videos on your main channel. By the way, check that one out if you like movie quizzes. Definitely check that out. And I also liked your short little videos on your other channel, because I like seeing like snippets of people's everyday life. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out HarriHaffi channels.
Well, it's kind of a step back into the old YouTube that used to be shorter videos, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
So, where can people find you?
on this channel, you can find me, Rasmus Jonsson, and you can find me on TikTok. I recently started a TikTok. I'm called Podsol People. I don't do that much stuff, but I do some stuff on TikTok, and it's fun.
TikTok is all English, or?
Yeah. No. I've done like, it's a mix. I do mostly English. I've done a mix.
Mostly English, okay.
Yeah.
So mostly English, and your channel on YouTube is mostly Swedish so far.
Swedish. Yeah.
I don't know, is this a step in a new direction maybe, or are you going to keep?
I'm not sure. I have been thinking of doing some English stuff, like mixing it up and trying something new.
You have your old YouTube channel, RJ's
movie channel. Yeah, I do have that one.
Yeah.
I went English that time, but that channel's so dead, so it's not active anymore. But so I have tried it in the past. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come up with a subject for the next episode somewhere along the way. Yeah. It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, a big surprise coming up next episode.
And maybe it will be in English, or maybe it will be in Swedish. But all you have to do is learn Swedish.
Exactly.
Easy peasy.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, guys. Thank you for watching this episode. We'll see you on the next episode of H&R Movie Talk.
Yes, H&R Movie Talk.
Yes, take care in the meantime, and you too, HarriHaffi. Take care. I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.